AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun. Congressman Jamal Bowman says capitalism is slavery by another name. No, it's not. It's the thing that has given more people more prosperity and hope than any other system, flawed though it surely is. But again, something like the free market is kind of synonymous with America. And if you don't like it, I don't know how you can say you love this country. You know who loves this country? You know who's not constantly complaining about what happened 200 years ago and who's not obsessed with seeing America through shit-colored glasses and shaking off the stench of what irredeemable, privileged assholes we are? Immigrants.
Bill Maher is sounding the alarm again, and this time, the warning is more urgent than anything he has said before. He believes AOC is being positioned to lead the Democratic National Committee. And if that happens, he thinks the party is not just in trouble, he thinks it is finished. This is the same man who warned Democrats about Kamala Harris years before the 2024 election, loudly, repeatedly, and publicly. They didn't listen. They paid for it at the polls. Now he is raising the exact same kind of warning about AOC. And his critique this time is sharper, more specific, and considerably harder to dismiss.
AOC, Mamdani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're democratic socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet. I don't think people realize we already have a lot of socialism. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, food stamps, veterans benefits, Pell Grants, COVID-era payments, farm subsidies, disability payments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, corporate bailouts, and the jobs program that is building weapons the Pentagon doesn't even want.
And all perfect.
The DSA are radicals about this concept, and radical economic policy is always ineluctably married to radical social policy. Their platform, for example, calls for completely open borders. They're for what Biden was doing, but more. You think you're going to win an election on that? This just seems like more extremism at a time when Americans are begging both parties, please, could just one of you act normal?
There is a specific point Maher raised that deserves more attention than it typically receives. To make their political narrative work, certain Democrats have developed a habit of portraying America as a broken, oppressive, essentially unredeemable system. And sometimes the exaggeration moves well beyond acceptable political spin into territory that is simply factually unsustainable. Consider the recent claim that Black Americans are not free in the United States. Sit with that assertion for a moment. In a country where Black men and women run major corporations, serve in Congress, have led the Supreme Court, and have occupied the White House, the argument being advanced is that Black Americans are not free. That claim does not stretch the truth. It breaks it. But this is the playbook Maher is identifying. Amplify the pain. Maximize the outrage. Make America sound like a country not worth defending, not worth believing in, not worth fighting for. And when that becomes your consistent political brand, when tearing down the country is your primary mode of public engagement, it stops looking like advocacy. It starts looking like contempt. Maher sees it clearly, and an increasing number of ordinary Americans are seeing it too.
Okay, I say the next time we have debates, the moderator needs to frame that question a little differently, as say something about America that you like, because honestly, I don't know why the people who are fighting for this country so hard even want it anymore.
And here is the question Maher keeps returning to, the one that sits underneath all of the specific policy arguments. Why would someone who appears to genuinely dislike America want to lead it? Think about that seriously for a moment. If you love something, the criticism you offer comes from a desire to make it better. It is specific, it is honest, and it acknowledges progress where progress exists. But with AOC, the criticism is relentless and reflexive. It does not pause. It does not acknowledge when something works. It does not matter whether a policy creates jobs, strengthens economic output, or puts more money into the pockets of working families. The objection arrives immediately and without qualification. She will find a microphone and deliver another round of outrage on schedule, regardless of what the evidence actually shows. Maher is not arguing against criticism itself. Healthy criticism is how democracies stay accountable. But there is a meaningful and observable difference between criticism that comes from love of country and criticism that looks indistinguishable from contempt. One wants the place to be better. The other seems to want the audience to believe it cannot be. And voters, particularly the voters Democrats need to win back, notice that difference every time.
A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of sucking and unable to change. But we have changed. A lot. Democrat Cori Bush tweeted, "This land is stolen land and black people still aren't free." And this was on the 4th of July. Really? Not that I give a shit about the 4th of July. I've never been a rah-rah guy. But I am a perspective guy. And that's what too much of the left has lost, perspective.
And this may be Maher's most powerful observation, the one that cuts cleanest through everything else. AOC and her allies may find it politically useful to portray America as a deeply flawed, barely redeemable, essentially oppressive nation. But there is a profound and unaddressed irony embedded in that position. The very people they claim to be fighting for, the immigrants who crossed oceans and deserts, who left behind everything familiar, who gave up family and comfort and safety for a single chance at a life in America, those people are not arriving in a country they despise. They are arriving in a country they spent years dreaming about. They have lived the alternative. They know firsthand what existence looks like without American freedoms, without American legal protections, without the specific and hard-won rights that people born here treat as background noise. And yet the people who have never had to survive without those freedoms are the ones screaming loudest that the country is a failure. Contrast between those who risk everything to get here and those who have every advantage of being here and still cannot find anything worth defending, says more than any policy argument ever could.
72% of black people under 30 are optimistic about their future in America. Way more than white people the same age. And as far as the land goes, yes, I guess we could change the name of Captain America to Captain Stolen Land. But honestly, to all the people who start every public event now with one of those land acknowledgements where they say, "I'm standing on land that was stolen from the proud indigenous people of the Chumash tribe," I say either give it back or shut the fuck up.
And this leads directly to another point Maher lands with real precision, the rise of performative politics as a substitute for actual results. Politicians like AOC have developed a sophisticated ability to stage moments that look like activism while producing nothing measurable for the communities they claim to represent. Land acknowledgement speeches are his clearest example. You have heard them, those solemn, carefully delivered declarations recognizing that America was built on indigenous land. They are designed to sound profound. They are designed to signal deep moral seriousness. They generate applause and social media engagement and a feeling that something meaningful just happened. But when the cameras turn off and the event ends, nothing changes. No land is returned. No communities are rebuilt. No generational damage is addressed. Maher's point is surgical. If you publicly acknowledge an injustice and then do absolutely nothing to address it, the speech is not activism. It is a costume. It is a method of appearing to be a good person while paying none of the actual costs that being a good person requires. That is not leadership. That is political decoration. And voters are beginning to see through it with increasing clarity.
AOC says so many people in this country hate women. Oh, geez. Even the guy at the party who pulls out a guitar is like, way to ruin the fun. Congressman Jamal Bowman says capitalism is slavery by another name. No, it's not. It's the thing that has given more people more prosperity and hope than any other system, flawed though it surely is.
So here is where it lands. Bill Maher, a lifelong liberal who has never pretended to be anything else, is not attacking America. He is trying to rescue his own party from a direction he believes leads directly off a cliff. His message is not complicated. You cannot lead a country you openly despise. You cannot win back voters by exaggerating their pain, staging empty symbolic gestures, and screaming oppression while producing nothing that actually changes their lives. AOC and her allies are pulling the Democratic Party toward a destination that Maher believes most American voters will reject decisively. He sees it. He is saying it out loud. Whether the Democrats listen this time is genuinely unknown, but if recent history offers any guidance, the pattern suggests they probably will not. And in 2028, if that turns out to be true, they will face the consequences again. The warning is on the record. What happens next is up to them. If this breakdown resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments. There is a lot more ahead.
But again, something like the free market is kind of synonymous with America. And if you don't like it, I don't know how you can say you love this country. You know who loves this country? You know who's not constantly complaining about what happened 200 years ago and who's not obsessed with seeing America through shit-colored glasses and shaking off the stench of what irredeemable, privileged assholes we are? Immigrants.
And here is the hypocrisy at the center of all of this, and it is almost too obvious to require explanation, yet it almost never gets stated directly. The loudest voices advancing anti-American rhetoric, the ones declaring the country broken, oppressive, and beyond redemption, are the exact same voices that were conspicuously quiet when their own party held power. Under the Biden administration, according to AOC and her closest allies, things were broadly fine. The economy was presented as functioning. Progress for Black Americans was being made. Women's rights were secure. The national direction was acceptable. America, by their own accounting, was in reasonable shape. Then Biden left office. And suddenly, within weeks, the same country became oppressive, hostile, divided, and beyond defense. Think about what that timeline actually reveals. The country did not transform dramatically in a matter of weeks. What changed was who held power. And that exposes the entire framework for what it actually is. The outrage was never primarily about the suffering of ordinary Americans. It was about political positioning. It was about who controls the narrative and who benefits from the country being perceived as failing. That is not advocacy. That is not activism. That is opportunism, and Maher is entirely right to name it as such.
Ask any of them why they came here, and they will tell you the same thing. Ron DeSantis put me on a plane. But they will also tell you that America, for all that's so shitty about it right now, is still the last best hope. And those people asking for our votes to take it over should remember that.
Here is a question worth sitting with. Where exactly is AOC drawing the conclusion that America fundamentally hates women? Is the evidence Hillary Clinton's 2016 loss? Is it Kamala Harris's 2024 defeat? Because if that is the foundation of the argument, it is a remarkably weak case constructed around a very convenient narrative. American voters do not walk into a voting booth thinking primarily about the gender of the candidate. They think about solutions. Who can fix a broken economy? Who can establish actual order at the border? Who can make everyday life more affordable for working families? That is the real question on every ballot. And it has nothing to do with whether the person asking for the vote is a man or a woman. Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris were not rejected because of their gender. They were rejected because millions of Americans, for a wide variety of documented and specific reasons, did not trust them with the responsibilities of the office. That is not misogyny. That is democracy functioning exactly as it is designed to function. Labeling an election loss as evidence that America hates women is not a brave or honest response to a difficult outcome. It is a dodge. A way of avoiding the harder and more honest conversation about why voters said no, and what the party would need to genuinely change to earn a different answer.
If she had some deprogramming, she could be such a fantastic candidate.
What do you mean deprogramming?
Well, she just doesn't, she's never going to resonate with people outside of the bubble that she lives in the very, very far left.
If you have been paying attention to AOC's recent moves, a pattern has been forming that goes beyond individual policy positions. She has been moving in close alignment with New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and that alliance is growing more visible by the day. Together they released a video urging all New York parents, regardless of immigration status, to enroll their children in the city's free pre-K and child care programs. And before anyone argues the merits of that specific initiative, Maher's concern is not about the program itself. It is about the larger trajectory it represents. Mamdani ran his entire mayoral campaign on expanding free childcare, has since partnered with Governor Hochul to scale it further, and has simultaneously called for abolishing ICE while maintaining an open sanctuary city position. Stack those positions together and a direction emerges. That direction is exactly what worries Maher. His argument is not that safety nets are wrong. America already has social support systems built into its structure to cushion the hardest edges of a market economy. His argument is that going fully socialist is a fundamentally different road. And in his view, a genuinely dangerous one for the Democratic Party's future.